when uranium, like I heard some goofballs on social media were saying that the uranium trade was last week. I think it was the uranium trade is done. It's done. I saw that and I was like, are you kidding me? 3.5 billion people out there don't have any energy or very little of it, and you're telling me the uranium trade is done? No, what is renewable trade is done.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Next Big Rush. I am here with Dev Randhawa, the CEO of F3, the hottest exploration play in the Athabasca Basin, the Saudi Arabia of uranium. And we love to talk about uranium. Welcome, Dev.
Well, thanks for having me back on. It's just so exciting, for I'm so happy for our investors that the stocks it's broken out to 47 cents. I'm
Yeah.
happy for I'm happy for all the uranium companies. I've been congratulating B and NextGen or David. I've been congratulating everybody because all of us have been talking about the need, for uranium and how it's so, black. We've been telling the uranium story now for so long.
True.
Finally, you're over 100. So I'm happy for everybody and swiftly happy for people who own F3.
All right, so we've been pounding the table on the uranium story and on F3 as a super high grade discovery in the Athabasca. And people have, been looking at it and watching it develop. And it was kind of trading, like within a certain range. It was, going from like the 30s to the 40s, and now it's just broken out of 45. I think I see a 47 and a half today. We're
Wow.
recording this on the 15th of January. And you've been telling me that apparently, like people are really looking to F3 as it's breaking out. And you're probably getting,
Yeah.
all the calls that you wish you were getting back back in the days when you started telling people about the story and then nobody wants to listen. And I've been seeing this, Dev, a lot in the last 2 to 3 days because uranium has broken through the $100 per pound with zero resistance whatsoever. We're talking about the spot market here. And it just, it seems like every day is an update. We did 100 and then, 104, and now we're 106. And it seems like this is going to keep going up. Now, whether it will or it won't, I do see a lot of people revisiting uranium and taking a second look and thinking, maybe the hype is real. Maybe there's something to this market. Maybe the crazy uranium people have been right all along. For the newcomers, what can you tell them? Why should they look at F3? Because, they do have options. They could be looking at, different companies in different
Sure.
jurisdictions. Why should they look at F3?
Well, I think first of all, they shouldn't look at other jurisdictions. They should only look at one jurisdiction, which is the Athabasca, and maybe do ISR in the US. I think a classic example of what's happened to our good friends in Niger, at Gogi Exploration, good people. I feel for Dan and the guys over there, and suddenly, it's gone. Like there's just problems everywhere. So I would say do you want to play the game safely? Definitely stay within North America. And I'm not saying F3 should be your only holding, but I think it has to be a part of your folding. Like I even told a friend of mine last night, have a bit of, a developer like NextGen or something, but definitely have an exploration company. And I'm saying your exploration company should be F3 because one, it's very well managed. We have $40 million and we have made 3 discoveries. Nobody else has made 2. So, 3 discoveries, end of story. And now you got 55 holes coming. So that's a lot of drilling coming up. And if we have one of those holes in either A1 or parallel over B1, especially in B1, the boron numbers are so high. They're exceptionally high, over 65, over 60%. So we like our chances in B1. We like our chances in A1 because we don't have a zone. We have a system, we believe. So it's well managed and you've got a great project. So that's number one. Number two is that even if uranium sat quiet, okay, the stock would go up if we hit a hole. So in other words, one, it'll go up, and it'll go up with the price of uranium. It can go up with the price of a discovery, another zone within A1, or as we said on B1, something along there. The third one is that there are a few companies that are on the ugly part of the Lassonde curve, down at the bottom where they're just permitting and etc. Well, they could benefit a lot. And I know I've talked to a number of bankers and etc. that some of these companies need some blue sky. So that's why you're seeing some companies out there drilling and going, why? Because investors want to see a pipeline of projects. Say, okay, you got this one, now what are we doing? There's nobody else out there with 59% uranium. You know, Ray and Sam are just superstars. And, you know, as I said, I used to say to people, rest in peace. Just go to bed. It's in good hands, this project. If they can find 3 discoveries, I think they can find more. Now, these are all risky companies. Like, you know, there's risk there, but it's mitigated by the track record of the people. Can they raise money at the right time? Do they know what to do with that money? Well, we've proven over and over that we can. So I think that's the reason I would say, look at us as one. We're in, it's well managed, well financed. There's a chance for another hole that besides the JR zone that will really add value. And then lastly, it'll be a possible good acquisition target for companies stuck in that Lassonde curve.
Yeah, and speaking of acquisition target, I think this is a stage in, you know, the bull market where you do start to see, you know, M&A activity. You guys have strong institutional interest as well. Like, how do you see this playing out? Do you think there needs to be more consolidation within, you know, the western side of the basin? What's your opinion?
Oh, I mean, you know, I wouldn't want to be an investor, honestly. There's so many, you know, choices and names, so consolidation would help. How that is, I don't know. You know, as you know, we've always said, and I've always said to you, we control what we control. The only thing that we control is where we drill, and that's what we're focused on. You know, I'm just giving a perspective that, you know, yeah, I think consolidation, but you know, I got to be careful on what I say on that. But I do believe that every industry shrinks and grows, right? And so this industry is no different than the other, whether it's gold, silver, or whatever. You've got to have that. So, no, like I said, what a great time. Uranium is $100. You know, stocks are we finally broke out through that 45. You know, it was frustrating for me. I'm one of the largest retail investors. But you know, the good news it has, and I'm very excited over the next few weeks and months what brings. Uranium can go to 150 because it's I think once someone at Sprott, I think it was Kevin Bambro, I can't remember, he did an analysis and he said to me once, uranium will go to $200 and it starts to become a factor in the cost of running a nuclear reactor. Otherwise, it doesn't have any impact on it, you know. So, you know, it's exciting times, and I mean, I didn't think uranium would hit 100 so quickly. I really thought it would take some time. You know, I've talked to some people, and I'll give their names, but you know, they say, I can't believe this particular guy is the most conservative man that I know. And he said, Dev, 150 is right around the corner. And this is not a Canadian, you know, not an American. And I was like, what? This same guy was so negative before. Now that he's seen some of the trading going on, so little uranium out there, you know, and so it's exciting times. That's for sure. Beats the heck out of those dark times in the summer.
For sure, and we're being vindicated finally. So, looking at the company as a whole, obviously, because you've made such a high grade discovery in, you know, Patterson Lake North and the JR zone and everything, and now you're trying to delineate that kind of area. What else do you hold? Because like that is not the only thing you have in
Yeah,
a portfolio, but it's the thing that everybody talks about. I think that there's a lot more to the company and a lot more upside. Can you tell us quickly, like what else you have?
yeah, yeah. It's a very good question. Now, you're right, and I think we always forget to talk about it. And which is we have 15 other projects, and they're all over the basin, and they were all bought from the government. So there is no royalties, nothing. We own 100%. We didn't buy it from anybody. So all these projects are exciting to us, and I do see this year there's an exploration being done on them finally. I understand that, 90% of the money we'll get in will always be spending on our JR zone and the whole PLN project. But yeah, this year I expect us to do some work. We certainly like Cree Lake, we like Murphy Lake, we like all these areas, and yeah, if we have a lot of projects, unfortunately, all the attention goes to PLN. That's where the drilling is, but we are preparing. We are doing some work on them. As we talked before, is preparing for drilling is cheap, meaning vectoring and doing all sorts of work, on ground, flying it. There are all sorts of things you can do to narrow the target, because expensive is the word for drilling. It's so expensive to drill. It can cost up to $400,000 to $500,000 per hole, depending how deep it is and how hard the rock is. So you just want to nilly-willy say, okay, let's do 5 holes or 10 holes. Well, suddenly you spend $4 or $5 million gone, and you haven't found anything. So I know the market wants you to drill, but we've learned in the past, don't drill unless you've done all your work and etc. Right now, we are waiting for 2D and 3D work on the B1 area. We found out that conductor example, when we did more work, is actually longer, which excited us. Same thing with A1, it's longer. So we're waiting for our 2D and 3D work to come back, and that will really help us narrow in on targets on B1. So the reason we have been aggressively drilling 3 rigs and go is, 1, you don't want to waste money, and 2, waiting for information that's fairly cheap, but unfortunately it's just slow.
And when do you expect to have those, fingers crossed?
Well, some of the 2D information's come in. We're waiting now for the 3D. Okay. Unfortunately, it's good uranium price is 104, but the thing is, everybody is doing work in the basin now. And so I think investors need to kind of get its expectations back of drilling and etc., because these labs are going to be full. If it was crazy before getting drill results, getting assays back, watch what happens the next 6 months.
We should set up a lab.
Assay business.
I'm pretty sure it's a good business when business is good. When the cycle turns, and I'm pretty sure it's a good business. I won't comment on when the cycle is not to their favor. But okay, so there will be tons of winter drilling. Can people expect news to come throughout the winter drilling, or are you guys going to wait until the whole campaign is over to give us?
Well, what we try to do is we do an area, and we're not going to put out every hole. That's silly. Because it's easy to mislead investors. What we're trying to do is do batches of areas, right? We do 3, 4 holes here, 3, 4 holes here, and as we do it, so I leave that to Ray and Sam when they feel, because they want the holes to tell a story. Okay, this batch of holes tells us this. This batch of holes tells us this. So again, these guys are the best in the industry. I trust them, and investors should too, because they're very, very conservative, and I'm glad they, are our team. That's all I know. And because that's one thing is, I don't know if you know, but in the last cycle, we went from 5 companies when I started in 1996. By 2007, there were 985 companies. So don't be surprised.
Wow. I heard the number 500 before. I did not know it was 900.
It was close to overnight. It was 900. So wow. You get people in gold, people in silver, weed, any industry, anything that's not working. The promoters and the momentum players will come in. I'm glad. Look, I love those guys coming in because they want to do joint ventures. They don't have technical teams. I can help them. What we want to do is use our mind, our properties, their money. So that's something which, hopefully we can get some joint ventures done this year.
Awesome. And so we'll be looking forward to, following you guys around and making sure that we're reporting every bit of good news that you guys put out. I'm sure there's going to be a ton, because you have some really good land up there in the Athabasca. Any last words of advice for people who are going through the cycle for the first time? Because, this is not your first rodeo.
Well, you're going to have up and downs. And, one thing I would say is now that, these things are trading volume, you can use technical analysis. So I really encourage people to look at some technical analysis before they buy. The fundamentals of everybody, but I think you can use technical analysis now the volumes are higher. Don't get scared because, same thing, when uranium, like I heard some goofballs on social media are saying that the uranium trade was last week, I think it was uranium trade is done. It's done. I saw that and I was like, are you kidding me? 3.5 billion people out there out of 8 don't have any energy or very little of it.
Mhm.
And you're telling me the uranium trade is done. Now, what is renewable trade is done. Nobody wants to knock it because that's a politician's friend to get elected. But no. I mean, that's the whole thing. Ignore the noise, stick to the fundamentals. And you can use, I think they can use technical analysis now on some of these stocks. We couldn't before.
Awesome. I think what they meant is that the uranium warm up is done and now the real game begins.
Yeah, that's not what they said. They said the uranium.
They don't know what they're talking about.
A couple of these experts said, I'm
Wow.
out. I'm sold every share. I'm going.
Wow.
That was a sign. Actually, I said to a friend of mine, that's a sign it's going to break out.
Yeah,
As soon as you hear stuff like that, that's the time, and sure enough, these stocks have all gone up 20% since.
That's amazing. Awesome. So where can people find out more about F3, Dev?
Well, that's through Uranium website. That's the easiest. And, if you have any questions, I think that we can send emails in and questions, but obviously listening to talks like this are very helpful because we try to summarize it for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope to catch up with you soon in your company because what you guys have going on there is very, very exciting. I am sure it will be plenty of news from now until the summer. Thanks, Dev.
That's that question. Yeah, we're 55 holes. There'll be lots of news between now and the end of the summer. Sorry.
That's plenty. Cheers. Thank you very much, Dev.
Thank you for having me.